Cooking in Tales of the Shire is the key to in-game friendships. By serving food that villagers enjoy, you will increase your friendship level with them, which will unlock new recipes, decorative items, and further interaction options. The only issue is that cooking in the game can be a little bit confusing if you don't know what you're doing. In this guide, I'll cover the entire dining process, from sending out invites, getting ingredients, cooking quality dishes for your guests, and finally hosting your own dinner party. Right, let's get stuck in. After you've met various NPCs in the game, you'll be able to invite them over for dinner. The game walks you through this process, but I'll cover it in case you're curious. Head over to your writing desk and send out an invite to 2 guests for a meal at your home. At the start of the game, you can only host 2 guests, but later on, you'll unlock different locations to host dinner parties with more guests. When you're inviting people round, you can see what food in particular they're craving, if any. The next day, however, they will send you an RSVP telling you what they're in the mood to eat that day. For example, they might want something salty or sweet. You can of course serve them anything you like, but giving them either what they're craving or what they've RSVP'd with is a surefire way to increase your friendship levels with them. Once you've sent out an invite, you have the rest of the day and the following day to gather your ingredients together. Depending on what you need, there's a few places you can go, and I'll tell you exactly who sells what in the game. The most obvious place to gather ingredients is your garden. Keep a variety of seeds growing so you always have a supply of vegetables to use in your dishes. You can store them in your pantry once you've harvested them. For items that you can't grow, you can buy from various shopkeepers. Head over to the square to meet Farmer Cotton, Young Tom Cotton, and Hobson Hornblower. Farmer Cotton sells seeds and garden pots. If you need something immediately, however, it's not very helpful. Tom will sell you cheese, milk, and meats. Each shopkeeper has a limited supply of items that are restocked daily, so you can't buy, say, 100 blocks of cheese even if you had the money. Finally, Hobson Hornblower will sell seasoning items such as salt, cinnamon, and lemons. Seasoning is the real game changer when it comes to cooking, both in the game and in real life. So make sure you stock your pantry up with these items. Outside of the square, you can head over to Sandyman for flour, yeast, barley, and so on. He's an obnoxious twit, but I guess every village has to have one. For fish, you can find plenty of spots in lakes and rivers. Once an area is depleted of fish, they will regenerate the next day. You can also trade with old Noaks for fish if you need a particular one urgently. The last thing you can get hold of immediately are forageable items. Look around for fruit, mushrooms, plants and nuts as you walk around the village. Follow the butterflies to find hidden forageables. If you don't have money to buy the things you need from shops, fishing and foraging is a great way to make some extra cash. Any shop will buy things from you, so you can spend time getting items and then selling them to make money to buy the things you need. When you've got all your ingredients together, it's time to get cooking, so let's head over to our kitchen. At the start of the game, you'll have a chopping board, frying pan, and a simple mixing bowl. Later on in the game, as your cooking level increases, you'll unlock different kitchen tools to improve the flavours and textures of your food. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. When you've selected a dish to cook, you will select the ingredients you want to use to make it. The higher quality of products you use in your food will increase the overall quality of the meal. The other aspect of cooking you have control over is the texture. Pay close attention to the grid here at the bottom right of the screen. You'll see where your dish currently sits on the texture matrix. Ooh, texture matrix, I like that term. By getting your meal to the ideal spot on the grid, you will improve its texture. Hitting the sweet spot will make your meal extra delicious. The vertical axis on the matrix shows you how smooth or chunky your food is, whereas the horizontal line indicates how crisp or tender it is. When the game begins, you won't be able to make a food more crispy, but you can tenderize it by frying it. Frying an ingredient is also where you're going to be able to add seasoning to change the flavour. You can turn a traditionally salty dish sweet, or a bitter dish sour, and so on, all from here. I appreciate that's a lot to take in, so let's see it in action. I've been tasked with making a dish that's salty. I'm going to choose to make a food that has no set flavour and make it salty through my use of ingredients and seasoning. This is quite an advanced recipe, but if you can see how it all works from here, you'll be able to make simple dishes with ease. Looking through my pantry, I can see I have salty fish, salty mushroom and some salt. There's a recipe I can make that uses both fish and mushrooms. By selecting my salty fish and the salty mushroom, I can dictate the overall flavour of the dish. There are some other ingredients, however, that are sweet, and I don't want to override the salt, so I'm going to season those, changing them from sweet to salty. There are some things you cannot change, like milk and flour. They just have to go in as is. When you get to chopping, you can start changing the texture. As you can see from the texture matrix, I'm going to need to make this smoother. I can do that by chopping up the ingredients a lot. The way it generally works with chopping is this. If you chop the food to the middle of the bar, it won't change its position on the matrix. If you chop it as little as possible, it will make the overall dish chunkier. If you chop it as much as possible, it will make the overall dish smoother. You'll need to play around with the chopping to find the right level for each dish. If you don't chop one ingredient enough, or too much, you can make up for it with the next one, provided it needs chopping. When it comes to how tender the dish is, you can fry certain ingredients to make them tender. In this case, if you don't cook them at all, the overall tenderness of the dish is not altered. You can speed up the tenderization process by flipping the pan. It's also at this stage that you can alter the flavour of the dish by adding seasoning. As you can see here, I have a sweet vegetable. By adding salt at this stage, I can make it salty as I cook it. That will now ensure that the dish itself is salty. You can play around with the flavour as well. If the meal's ingredients consists of two different flavours, for example both sweet and spicy, you can get a flavour combo bonus. Once you've made your dishes, and it's the day of the party, you just need to go over to the table and start the meal. Depending on the time of day you start the meal, it will change the type of meal it is. For example, an early morning meal will be called breakfast. But if you start the meal at mid-morning, it will be called second breakfast. When the meal begins, the guests will be at the table and you can remind yourself of what they wanted. You won't be able to go back to the kitchen at this point, so whatever you've made is what you've got to serve, whether it's in your backpack or in the pantry. Place the correct meal in front of the Hobbit and you can start eating. As they eat, you'll be able to see their reactions and gauge how much they enjoyed the food. At the end of the meal, you'll see how much your friendship has improved. If you increase a friendship level, talk to the villagers to get your gifts. And there you have it. That's cooking in Tales of the Shire in a nutshell. I hope this guide helps. I'd love to know what interesting flavour combinations or recipes you've unlocked. Feel free to leave a comment below with any tips of your own. You can also join our community Discord server where we have a dedicated Tales of the Shire channel for you to discuss the game. Finally, I'll be live streaming Tales of the Shire from the very beginning. I'll put a link to that live stream in the video description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you again next time.